Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the JP Football Podcast. As you can see, as I hope you can see, I got a much better camera now, so that way you'll actually be able to see me and it isn't going to be so blurry. Today, we have a guest on the show. He actually is all the way from South London, I believe. He's a
Yeah,
Crystal Palace fan, and his name is Luke Cooper. Luke, welcome to the Football Podcast. How are you doing, man?
yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm looking forward to this chatting about football today. So it
Um,
should be fun.
Me as well. Oh, your camera, your frame froze a little bit. Just want to give you a update on that. If you could,
Yeah, is it all
yeah.
good?
Oh no, you're still frozen. Oh boy.
Hang on.
There we go. All right. There he is, ladies and gents. There he is. So today it is officially the last day of the deadline window in the Premier League, along with a couple other big just clubs and teams in general around the world. And I'm going to bring you the latest Everton transfer news and rumors. And Luke is going to give a different point of view, maybe it's same as mine, similar. And then we're going to talk about what's going on at Crystal Palace along with their transfers, though. So that should be a lot of fun. So we're going to jump right into it. So the biggest thing I want to talk about first is the fact that Moise Kean has finally left Everton and he's joined Juventus on a 2-year loan, with Juventus paying £3 million or €3 million, excuse me, in his first season, 4 million for the second. And then they have an obligation to buy for €28 million plus 3 million in bonuses. Um, well, I don't like the loan, and I would rather have them just buy him right away, because Moise Kean, again, like I've said before, he never really wanted to be at Everton. I felt it never seemed that way. So, but with an obligation to buy, at least we'll get the money for him to bring in other transfers. But best of luck to him. Luke, does this transfer mean anything to you?
I've watched Moise Kean over the past few years at Everton and Juventus previously when he was there. Um, he is a good striker, but I think he has attitude problems. I think that's what's letting him down. If he just gets his head right and plays his football and does the talking on the pitch, then he can be a good striker. He can probably be top 5, top 6 strikers in the world. So, yeah, but I mean, it's a good move for both parties. He's back in Italy. Everton get some cash, not all, but it's a good move for him.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's still a young forward, and he's still got a lot to go. But maybe Everton just wasn't the right place for him. It wasn't. You just need to change a club sometimes for some of these players, and that's probably what happened with him. So then, moving on. So the next thing I have here is that Sheffield United striker Daniel Jebison is set to join Burton Albion on loan, and Sheffield United rejected a permanent bid from Everton. This is according to Graham Bailey. I'm actually very happy with this. I spoke of Daniel Jebison a couple episodes ago, and I didn't want him anywhere near Everton. Yes, he's young, but he's done absolutely nothing for Sheffield United. The biggest thing he did was he came on his debut and he scored against us. But after that, he's barely played for the first team. So he's very unproven. And I'm actually glad he's joining Burton Albion on loan. And, because I don't even think he would make the first team. He'd be sent to the U23s, where at this point in time, we need to fix our academy. But you have any thoughts on this one, Luke?
I don't have much detail on that player. I haven't really watched him play enough. But I did hear some circulating rumours that Everton was in for him. But as you said, he probably would have been sent on loan to another club if he wasn't at Everton, or probably sent to the under-23s or under-18s. And also talking about academies are really important for every single club. From category A, that's the highest, to to the lowest. So I agree with Josh, and academies are important for all clubs because then they can resell that. Resell, is it selling clause or resell? Resell.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, perfect example. Calvert-Lewin came to Everton through the academy. Maybe in a few, I'm hoping that he stays at Everton, but maybe in a few years, Everton can get a massive fee for him, and then the academy is a success. So,
well, Calvert-Lewin actually, he didn't come to the academy. Actually, we got him from Sheffield. Yeah, but like Tom Davis came from the academy. Tom Davis is one. Yeah.
If he has a good 2 or 3 years, he can probably cost about 50 million. So academies are really important.
Yeah, I would love for Tom Davis eventually to go for 50 million. That'd be incredible if that happened. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the final verdict on Daniel Jebison. I'm glad he's nowhere near Everton. Next thing. So apparently Benfica have loaned Andre Gomez from Everton, and there will be an option to buy for 12 million euros. This is according to Turkish journalist Auguz Orak. Well, again, there's a couple hours left to go in this transfer window. I don't know how true this one is, although I wouldn't mind Andre Gomez going out on loan. I mean, he's not a starter really, especially with the likes of Alan and Decore and Gabaman fit. He's literally like fourth in the midfield pecking order where we would play him. But at the same time, it is nice if he comes on as a sub and does a job. So that's kind of depleting from our squad depth. But I mean, if we're buying him, if we're selling him and we get money for him at the end of the season, I think that'll help with FFP, and hopefully, maybe we can get someone quality that's good in. But yeah, I'm kind of mixed. And again, who knows if that's actually true? There's a couple hours left to go, but do you have any thoughts on Andre Gomez just in general, Luke, as a player?
I've seen him. He was at Barcelona, wasn't he? And he recently is at Everton. He's a quality player. He'll probably fit into somewhere like Wolves. I mean, he's a Portuguese, but somewhere like a Wolves or somewhere like I'm going to say Palace, he'll probably fit into our club because he's a good midfielder. I think the only setbacks that he's had is injuries, unfortunately.
Ever since the Son injury, that really, I think, derailed his career a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah. But he's a good player. He has a good eye for a pass. He can shoot. But if you do loan him, it's pretty disappointing because you could have used him for backup. Like, squad depth is really important in the Premier League because if one player gets injured, that means, say, like a Calvert-Lewin or a Richarlison gets injured, or Alan gets injured, then you could use Andre Gomez into that midfield, or someone like Moise Kean, because he just left, into the striker. Like, squad depth is really important in the Premier League. Look at Man City.
Yeah.
Look how they are successful. They rely on squad depth, and they haven't really had the striker for the past 2 years. But it's very, very important. As I keep saying, it's just you've got to have it. Otherwise, you'll be struggling for getting top half or getting the European competitions.
Yeah, and this might actually surprise you, but I don't know if it will. But Everton fans they're very, very split on Andre Gomez. They're very split. A lot of people, in fact, do want him gone, don't like him, don't think, he's worth too much. And, they say it's unfortunate with what happened. But, the other half, of course, is like, oh, well, no, let's keep him, see what happens. We're actually split on Andre Gomez, believe that or not.
How old is he?
He's late 20s, early 30s at this point, but late 20s, I'd have to assume. Yeah.
Then probably it's best to get rid, because I think a lot of squads now are looking for younger players. So, especially Everton, like, they were looking at Jebison, but he's young.
It's a little too young. Yeah.
Yeah, but he can have a sell-on fee in the future, a massive sell-on fee. That's what I'm saying about the academy. Yeah. Academies are really important. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's that on Andre Gomez. But again, who knows if that'll fall through, because in a couple hours, if he stays at Everton, again, I'm completely fine with that. I'd be fine with him staying at Everton. Next thing, the man, the myth, the legend, Everton's, technically best signing almost ever. And technically speaking, I mean footballing ability, James Rodriguez. So James Rodriguez has indicated that he is prepared to stay at Everton. The Blues had hoped James would reach an agreement with Porto in a deal that would see Luis Diaz sign for Everton, but sources close to James say that a deal is unlikely at this point. This is via the Liverpool Echo. Well, again, I really, really like James Rodriguez as a player. It's not when he's out there on the pitch, he's technically the most gifted footballer out there. He really is. He's class. There's nothing less to say about him. But unfortunately, a lot of Evertonians, I feel, they want him gone for the fact that he's very injury prone. He is slow. He is a slow player, but and at the same time, ever since Ancelotti left, he just doesn't seem like he wants to be at Everton. And then, Rafa come in, and it seems like Rafa don't even want him to be a part of the plans. So I would have loved to have, and we're gonna go back to Luis Diaz, but I just want to talk about James first and foremost. I would like to see James play at least a decent amount of games if he's fit, but I really don't think Rafa is going to put him in, if at all, if he is in fact staying at Everton, which I do believe will happen until, I don't know, maybe we can sell him in January. But the whole James saga, it's just full of drama, in my opinion. You got anything to add, Luke?
James last year has been deployed out wide, didn't he, last season?
Yeah, he was played wide a few times, and I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I mean, he still produced some quality, but just wasn't the biggest fan of that.
If Rafa I think Rafa normally goes to the 4-2-3-1, right? So if he deploys that formation, use James behind the striker, James can get 12 to 13 assists. He's a good player, but yet again, another player that's set back with injuries.
Yeah. And it seems to happen a lot at Everton. We're just getting these players and getting injured, and don't even get me started on Fabian Delph. That he is literally. I'm not even making this up. He is injured, I believe, like every other week. It's really crazy how injury prone he is. I wish Villa or Leeds I would take him back. I wish they take him back. But moving on, and this one has been blowing up in our faces for literally the last 24 hours. This has been blowing up in our faces, and it's just really weird. And this is the most recent. So apparently Ainsley Maitland Niles is staying at Arsenal. The player held clear the air talks with Mikel Arteta this afternoon, and apparently Arteta has told him he's going to be part of his plans this season. This is according to the Mirror. This is a bit of a disappointing one, because I would have really liked to have Ainsley Maitland-Niles as cover for our right back, especially since Coleman's on the wrong side of 30. And then John Joe Kenny is just not good enough. I don't think any Evertonian thinks John Joe Kenny is good enough. So Maitland-Niles would have been, I think, a really, really good cover in the right back position. And he said, mere hours ago, he wanted to come to Everton. He wanted to go. He posted on his Instagram to Arsenal that he wanted to go to a place that wanted him and where he could play. And that was the same day that they held talks with Mikel Arteta. But I did say a few days ago that as much as I want him, I don't think it's going to happen, because Arsenal are going to need him more than we're going to need him. So,
Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Now, I think there's a deal could still be done.
Really?
In the final hours. That's my opinion. I think something could still be done. I think Everton can still get him. You just got to keep your fingers crossed. So I think there's something still to be done. I think he'll force a move still, either to Everton or maybe my club Palace. I think Palace still hunting for another right back, because we are struggling in the right back as well. But also Everton need a right back. But Maitland Niles is more of a central midfielder. So he could be a perfect replacement for Andre Gomez, maybe. If Andre Gomez all of a sudden leaves, you can probably get Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So who knows? In these final hours, I think there could be something interesting.
I mean, true. Yeah, he can play other positions as well. So it's a decent utility player signing as well. So if we get him, let's hope. And then next up, this is probably the most promising transfer Everton have currently. So according to Sky Sports, Salomon Rondon is very close to completing a move to Everton before tonight's transfer deadline. I think this is actually one of the few deals that will actually get done. I do think, especially with Moise Kean off to Juve for 2 years plus an obligation to buy, I think Rondon will come in. I like Rondon. I'm gonna like this signing. We were discussing it earlier. He's an experienced, older striker who could help mentor Calvert-Lewin. And, he's been in the Prem before, made his name with Newcastle, the likes of West Bromwich Albion, and I think he'll get goals for us this season. I really do think he'll get a decent amount of goals for us if he in fact does. So I hope Rondon does come to Everton, and I'm sure he'll start the odd game out. I'm sure he'll start in, a cup game too, if we'll get him in. I'd be very happy with the signing on Rondon. Your thoughts?
Rondon can be useful backup. As you said, he's an experienced Premier League striker. And if Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison gets an injury, deploy him up front next to either those two. So, no, I haven't seen much of Rondon I have seen much of him, but I haven't seen a lot of him. Mostly at his time at West Brom. He's a poacher, and every single club needs a poacher. So, even as a backup, it's good.
Yeah, hopefully, really hope this goes through, because if it doesn't, then we're not looking good at the striker depth. We're just not looking good there. Moving on then. So this is actually a confirmed move, our first confirmed move, right? So Niels Nkunku has joined Belgian side Standard Liège on a season-long loan. I am not happy with this at all. I said the other day that if Niels Nkunku left Everton to go on loan or to go wherever else he's going to go, we have absolutely no solid left back coverage for Lucas Digne. Now he's gone on loan. So if Lucas Digne gets injured, we are absolutely screwed at the left back position. Fabian Delph is just not good enough, and he's extremely injury prone. I don't feel comfortable with Fabian Delph anywhere near the pitch for Everton. I just don't. And I think a lot of Evertonians would agree. So that's not good. And then I'm trying to think of who else could replace him. And I know some people say, oh, well, you can just recall him from loan. You could just recall him. I have never seen Everton ever recall a player from loan when we have an injury in a certain position. I have never seen it happen. And I don't think it would start to happen now if Lucas Digne picked up a knock or, had a hamstring, did just something. So I'm not happy with it. And we just got to pray Lucas Digne can play 35 plus games this season, because we have no actual good coverage in the left back spot.
Depth is important. What's the point of loaning players when they are part of your first team squad? I've seen Nkunku play a few games last season. He looked pretty decent. Even in the cups, he looked like he could compete for the first team left back spot. So loaning players is pointless, because it just wastes his time. And you said it right there. Say if Lucas Digne did get an injury, you can loan him back, but what's the point of loaning him back when he probably doesn't want to be at Everton? I don't know. You don't know what's going through the player's head when that happens. So He's probably been moved about by both clubs or by Everton. So let's wait and see with that situation. I mean, even Digne, I have him in my fantasy team, by the way. So I always rely on him to get assists because he's really good from corners.
Yeah, I really, I don't like that move. I don't really get it, but I mean, if the problem with Niels and Kunku was the fact that he was thinking, I want, first team football, but I want to be starting. I understand that. I get that, but someone surely had to go and tell him, well, hey, you're our first option. If Lucas, if anything happens to him, and you'll get game time immediately. So again, Lucas Dean he has to be extremely fit this season because it's not looking good for our left back positions. Now, moving back to Porto and specifically more on Luis Diaz. So I got two things written down here. So apparently Porto have rejected a third bid of over 30 million euros, including James Rodriguez, for Luis Diaz to go to Everton. Porto also rejected a bid from Leicester City, and Everton are continuing to look for a club for James. This is according to Pipe Sierra, who is a Colombian journalist. And then not too long ago, Fabrizio Romano came out saying that Everton fans, Luis Diaz, there's no total agreement yet. Luis Diaz is a class player. I really liked him. He did amazing at the Copa America for Colombia as well. I'm amazed that Everton bid 30 million for him that high. I don't know necessarily where we got the money for that, especially since the Moise Kean transfer, I don't believe will be paid in full. But the fact that Porto rejected that, along with, James Rodriguez and 30 million, I think it just goes to show that they're making their stance, they're firm on the players, saying, we're not letting this fella go. We're going to need him for, upcoming season, upcoming Champions League. He's very important to us. Fabrizio Romano saying, what he says. And I like Fabrizio Romano. I think he's actually a very reliable source, unlike others. And whatever he says, I feel is usually right. So unfortunately, I don't see Luis Diaz going anywhere near Everton this season. James is going to stay, and I just hope Rafa can somehow implement him in the plans. Unless something absolutely dramatic happens in the next 2-3 hours, then I don't see any of this.
Luis Diaz, I haven't seen the player play, but I've heard good things about him. I saw a report a few weeks ago on Twitter. I don't want to believe it, but apparently Diaz is worth 100 million.
No, come on. Oh man.
So that's why probably Porto are rejecting these bids, because he's so important to their club.
Not 100 million though.
Maybe 80, 70, but I saw 100. But again, we have to wait and see with these few hours, because you never know. There could be twists and turns in the final day of the transfer window. So I reckon there could be some movement at Everton. I still think Everton can get something done with Diaz or with Maitland Niles. So we have to see with those moves. And Fabrizio Romano, just to say, he's probably the most reliable sources out there. And whatever he says, you've got to relax, because you've got to trust the guy. He knows his stuff. He's probably speaking to agents and stuff like that at other clubs that he's in contact with. So let's wait and see with Fabrizio. Here we go.
Yeah,
with the Maitland Niles and Luis Diaz, because I still think there's something to be done. That's my personal opinion. So,
I mean, yeah, I hope you're right. I really do hope you're right, because it's only a couple hours at this point. And by the way, ladies and gents, if Everton do get in confirmed transfers, I will be making just a quick video about the transfer that got in, so you're fully up to date and informed with what's going on. If nothing happens, then this will be the 100% fully complete transfer day deadline video, the final one, to be fair, until next one. So that's that. But all right, so Overall, though, before we get into Crystal Palace, overall, I have a list here of Everton's confirmed transfers in and then confirmed transfers out. I didn't really include U23s being their transfers out. I only mainly focused on first team players because, again, we did like nothing with the U23s profit wise. So, that's just that. So the transfers that Everton got in for this season, we got Andy Lonergan in from a free. He didn't have any club attached to, so we got him in for a free as a third string goalkeeper, which again, I think is a fine signing. We, especially with João Virginia going on loan, which I'll get into later, but we got him on a free, which I think is funny because again, the Liverpool connections, the Rafa Liverpool, I just think it's funny at this point, Yeah, there's that. And then we got, Damari Gray from Bayer Leverkusen, 1.7 million pounds. Absolute bargain so far. He's really looked unbelievable. Asmir Begovic on a free from Bournemouth. And then one that Luke will be familiar with, Andros Townsend, free from Crystal Palace. So out of all those transfers that, Everton have gone in, are there any one of those players in particular you think, oh, yeah, like I like him, or you want to talk about?
Damari Gray. I've been impressed with how he started this season. A few goals already. He's looking very, very bright. And Crystal Palace did look at him last summer. But I spoke to a few Leicester fans, and apparently he has a few attitude problems.
Oh.
So, but I don't think Crystal Palace went in for him. Crystal Palace did go in for him. They did show interest, but I don't think we showed much interest. So, but Damari Gray's got off to an impressive start for sure. And I think he could be bargain of the summer.
Absolutely. I just hope he continues doing what he's doing. I mean, but if he does, then Bayer Leverkusen are going to be looking at us thinking, what have we done? What have we done here letting him go? But I actually want to know this just because of the Palace connection, but what about Townsend? Like, do you miss him? Or you're like, oh, he'll be better off at Everton? Like, what are your thoughts on Townsend?
I think we should have re-signed his contract.
Oh, okay.
Just as backup, and also just giving some experience to the youth players, because he did have a small connection. He did have a small connection with Aaron Wan-Bissaka when he came through. He did sort of guide him to the first team. Wan-Bissaka, Andros Townsend was part of that youth development. He did help him along the way. It could have been a useful backup, but he did score plenty of goals for us. So, and I wish him the best at Everton because he's a quality player. You're going to get a lot of hard work out of him. That's what I can say.
Well, so far I've liked what I've seen from Townsend, definitely. So I hope he can keep it up as well. As for the transfers that Everton have sent out, left go, you got Dennis Adenir to Sheffield Wednesday, who was a prospect, but he's gone now. Mohamed Besic was released. Yannick Bolasie went to Kayseri Rizespor, a Turkish club in Turkey.
Another Palace player.
Yeah, another Palace player. Actually, you know what? I actually want to, thank you for bringing that up because I really liked Bolasie at Palace. I really did. I thought he was really good for you guys, and I was very, very excited when he come on to sign for Everton. But unfortunately, it never really panned out for him, So I was actually kind of disappointed that it never really seemed to work out for Bolasie. And, now he's off playing for some Turkish club. So
good luck to him.
Good luck to him. Best of luck. Josh King, that's a name we're both familiar with, I assume. He went to Watford. Honestly, it was a waste of a signing for Everton when we got him. He had him for 6 months. Ancelotti barely played him. I feel bad for Josh King. He never got a chance at Everton. He never got a real chance. But I think he'll get loads of chances at Watford.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, and yeah. Theo Walcott went to Southampton. You know, I actually really liked Theo Walcott. You know, I liked his character. I loved his pace, but he just had no end product. He didn't have much of an end product. So, you know, it was best to let him go. And I think he'll be fine at Southampton. You know, he seems like he really wants to be there as well. So
Yeah.
as that. Bernard, we let him go for £850,000 to Sharjah FC, which is all the way in the United Arab Emirates. Again, this is a good move for Bernard and all parties. He's very short, very small, not very physical. You know, he wouldn't have lasted much longer in the Prem with the physicality. So, you know, that's that. Benny Beninghaby, who jumped between the first team and U23s, he went over to Heart of Midlothian, aka Hearts, in the Scottish Premier League. I think he's going to do bits for them. I think, you know, I think he's going to do really well for him. Thierry Small, another player on us who went to Southampton. And then the last three big, Moise Keane going to Juventus, Nathan Broadhead going on loan to Sunderland, and then João Virginia going on loan to Sporting Lisbon. And yeah, that's all. Any of those players in there that you know raise an eye to you, Luke, or you know that's just
not really, no.
Yeah, that's the way the business goes. So anyway, ladies and gents, that is all for the Everton transfers. You know, confirmed out. Overall, if nothing happens in the next couple hours, I think it will have been just an okay transfer window. And the reason I say okay is because we never got a right back in, even though we addressed at the very beginning of the summer, the right back is a top priority, and we absolutely failed to get one in, which is just maddening and frustrating. And this is the reason why we're not going to be finishing anywhere near the top 4, even 5 this season, because of our failure to get a right back. But hopefully in the next couple of months in January, we'll see what happens. But I don't even want to talk about the future. I want to talk about what's going on now. So then we're going to be moving on to another football club. And thank God we actually have an actual fan from the club, Crystal Palace. So Luke, you know, tell us what is going on at Palace, the latest rumors, the ins, who we got in, who we got out. What do you think of the whole window? Let us lay it on.
Let's start who we got in. So we got a goalkeeper from Sunderland. I can't remember. I can't remember his name. Sorry, but I know the rest. Okay, Mark Gurhey from Chelsea, around 18 to 20 million quid. Joachim Anderson from Lyon, 15 million. Conor Gallagher on loan from Chelsea. Who else? There's one more. Michael Olise from Reading, 8 million release clause. Bargain. Wow. In the last year of his contract at Reading as well. So he paid the release clause, got it out there quickly. Will Hughes from Watford, central midfielder, got him for around 6 million plus add-ons, probably up to 8 million quid. And then currently in talks at the moment, nothing's confirmed, with Celtic striker Odsonne Edouard, and I'm very excited about this one. But overall, with the ins, it's been brilliant because we are focusing on the core of the team. So starting from centre back to centre midfield with Conor Gallagher and Will Hughes, and then you're going up front with possibly Odsonne Edouard and with Michael Olise on the right hand side. It's looking really good for Palace with transfers coming in. I'm excited because it's probably one of the best summers since we had promotion to the Premier League back in 2013. Okay, those are the ins. I want to start the outs. Most of them we're probably already familiar with Everton. So Andros Townsend going Everton. Scott Dan, he's leaving. Gary Cahill going to Bournemouth. Scott Dan he's gone to Reading, and Gary Cahill's gone to Bournemouth. Wayne Hennessy has gone to Burnley. I should be keeping up to date with these. Patrick Van Aanholt's gone to Galatasaray. Sorry. And then, can I think of one more? And Stephen Henderson, he was our third choice goalkeeper. He hasn't found a club yet. But those are the outs that I can remember. So,
I really like Patrick Van Aanholt. Why'd you guys let him go?
Mitchell, our current left back that we got, is up and coming, and he is actually from the academy. As I spoke, he is actually. Well, he started off at Brentford, and then he went from Brentford to Palace, and he was in the Palace under 23s and under 18s for about 3 years, and then COVID season, when COVID first hit, towards the last 5 or 6 games of the season, he's big. He got a lot of starts, and then last season, he was basically our number one left back. And a lot of Palace fans don't like Van Aanholt because of how defensively fragile he is. He can't. He literally can't defend. He's good at going forward, but he can't defend. I think. And he's 30 now, so Palace are building for the future. It's just disappointing with how Van Aanholt, towards the end of his career at Palace. It's just he started off really well. We thought, we've got a good left back here, but defensively, he didn't look that great. He didn't look interested as well. So
I see.
I think it's good for all parties. Galatasaray is a good club to go to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Good Turkish club.
Gets Champions League football, European football. So, yeah. But one I'm disappointed about is Gary Cahill.
Yeah, I liked Gary Cahill too.
He could have done really well alongside our 2 young centre-backs that we've got now, in Joachim Andersen and Mark Gurhey. Both one alongside each other. That's what I like. I like an experienced head alongside a young head. But at the moment, we're playing the 2 young heads alongside each other. Gary Cahill's an experienced player. He went off to Bournemouth on a free. Good luck to him once again. He was our sort of stopgap, if you know what I mean. He was our stopgap for that 1 year. And then last season, I think injuries cost him. He didn't get much game time, and then he left. And Scott Dan, yet again, he's another stopgap. He was good for about 4 to 5 seasons at Crystal Palace. Those first 2 seasons that he was with us, he got a lot of goals from corners. So he was another one that just stopgap. Just stay there. The manager or the owner just thought, stay there for 1 season. Let's see how the experienced players go. And then we got the youngers in now. So, we have to wait and see with how Scott Dan and Gary Cahill performs. They're both really good experienced centre-backs, but unfortunately, injuries and age cost them. So they're in the Championship. One's at Reading and one's at Bournemouth. Let's see how things go with them.
Yeah.
And then Andros Townsend, as you mentioned, good player. As I said, I think he's a hard-working player. You're going to get a few assists for Calvert-Lewin. And as I said, Andros Townsend's good with the youth, good at giving them experience, and he had a good relationship with Wilf Zaha. Just like Yannick Bolasie did with when he was at Palace. Andros was like a Yannick to Wilf. If Wilf Zaha has someone on the right-hand side and he's on the left, they both form a good connection. And Andros and Wilf formed a good connection. So who's on your left wing at the moment? Damari Gray?
Yeah. Him and Townsend are usually playing wide at the moment, yeah.
So them two could actually form a good connection. So just like what Wilf and Andros did, they can form a good connection. So yeah, that's the Palace stuff, and really, really hope that we get Odsonne Edouard.
That'd be a good signing. Oh,
so we speak about him for a bit.
Absolutely, yes.
So Odsonne Edouard.
He's by the way, for those of you who don't know, sorry to interrupt, but for those of you who don't know who Odsonne Edouard is currently a striker at Celtic, which is one of the top clubs in the Scottish Premiership, and he's a highly rated young French prospect. He came from PSG. He went from PSG to Celtic, and now, you know, a decent amount of clubs want him. So that's a little backstory on Odsonne Edouard, if you didn't know. Go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
So there has been, I think towards the back end of last summer, Palace had strong interest in him. I think our scouts have been seeing him quite a lot of times when they went to Celtic. And then all of a sudden, since last Friday, not last week, not 2 weeks, last Friday, there's been strong interest in Odsonne Edouard. And because of, I name another striker as well, Eddie Nketiah.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the youngsters at Arsenal, record goal scorer in the England under-21s. We had interest in Eddie Nketiah, but because Arsenal wanted up towards 20 million, for what a player who does not play that much for the Arsenal first team, he's only had about 10 to 15 appearances last year. Most of them were in the Europa League. And most of them were in the Cups. But we had strong interest in Eddie Nketiah, but because Arsenal wanted a lot of money, Palace said no. Now we're going for Odsonne Edouard since last Friday. It seems like we have agreed a deal for around 40. Sky Sports are saying 14 million, but what I'm reading is around 15 million.
Sounds about right.
So Odsonne Edouard since last Friday, we had strong interest. We put in a bid. A bid's been agreed. His medical's been completed today, but nothing's been announced yet. So I'm still waiting on that deal to be announced. And I don't know how long left. There's about 3 hours to go until the deadline shot. So I'm a bit worried, but I'm confident that Palace will get it done because of the amount of amazing business that we've done this summer.
Yeah.
So, because those were the two strikers, Eddie Nketiah and Edouard. That was the situation, but we seem to go towards Edouard now.
Yeah.
And then I've named you a few other players that we've been linked with, that unfortunately we didn't get. If I can remember them. That PSV right winger. Noni Madueke.
He sounds familiar. No, I know who you're talking about. His name. I know you're talking about though.
We had some links to him, but not strong concrete rumors. There was a bit of ITKs on Twitter that were just linking them to us, but not strong. And another player that just over recently with the Edouard deal, we did have pretty strong interest. We did have talks with him, but unfortunately he doesn't want to come to Palace. He wants to stay in Italy, and that's Sassuolo winger Jeremy Boga. We did have strong interest in him. A deal could have been done for around same as Edouard's price, around 15 million quid.
It's like a bargain right there, no?
Yeah. Jeremy Boga. Was Everton linked with him, Boga?
But Jeremy Boga, I think is the one Everton link or transfer that I never mentioned on my previous videos, and I'll explain myself. And the reason why I didn't is because I read the links and I thought, yeah, there's no way this is happening, so I'm not even gonna bother. And
Yeah,
that's literally the only reason why. Like,
so we had talks. Palace had talks with him. That's coming from my sources, and but he doesn't want to move from Italy. And the club that's in for him now from Italy is Atalanta.
That's a big club.
Yeah, so I don't know when the deal could be done, but maybe he might stay in Sassuolo for about a year and then move on. Yeah. So yeah, and then obviously Palace have been linked to Ainsley, Maitland Niles, but not strong concrete rumours. And then that's about it, really. For Palace's transfers, we've been linked to a lot of players, but we've got about 6 to 7 players in. So, and they're pretty young players. And positive note, as Palace fans, always panic about every single summer, and I do as well myself, that we've managed to kept hold of Wilfried Zaha. He's a player that we always keep hold of. I think the media always brings it up all the time, but Zaha's staying at Palace for another year. So yeah, that's all I can say. But no, successful summer at Palace, as I can say. And the transfer has been. This is the best window, as I said, since 2013, since we got promoted in 2013. But we had, in between that, we did have a transfer window in 2017 in January under Big Fat Sam.
Everton, we don't know. We get it. We get it. We both had him as manager. Yeah.
But we had a really good window under him. We got 3 or 4 players, but 3 of them in today's squad. Schlupp, Luka Milivojevic.
I like Milivojevic. I like Milivojevic a lot, actually. I like him a lot.
And Van Aanholt, who's just left, but 2017 window, this is the best window since that window. So Palace have been saving for quite a long time to have this window. And as I said to a lot of people, Palace needed to spend big. And that's what we've done. Because if we didn't spend big this summer, I think we could have got relegated. But now I see that we have a chance of staying up now. So,
speaking of that, actually, I would like to know from you, especially, and I'll give my input as well. With the transfer window again closing, and again, any confirmed Everton deals, ladies and gents, I will do in a very quick video if anything does happen. But with these transfers in and the players we've released on both clubs, where do you see Everton finishing this season, Luke, and where do you see Palace finishing this season?
Everton, I can see you finishing around 10th.
Okay.
I want to say 10th. Don't think you have enough for Europe yet. If you got possibly Luis Diaz in, I think you could have pushed up for European places. But 10th at the moment. And Palace, anything above 17th or above. That I will take that any day of the week as a Palace fan. I'm not overhyped to get Europe because I don't think we'll get Europe and we're not ready. But maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, maybe. But anything above 17th place or above, it's just perfect. 15th, 16th, 14th, it just works. Just stay up and then build this season onto next season and then maybe push on.
Yeah. I think Everton are going to finish in, I'd say around 8th. I think we're 8th. I think, yeah, 8th. 8th sounds about right for me. Now, obviously, my hope is a European spot. That's always the hope for Evertonians, but we can't really hope too much because, again, we'll have, like last season, brilliant start. This season, brilliant start. But then it just took a turn for the worse in the latter stages of the season. So don't want to hope too much, but realistically, I do think around eighth, honestly, eighth. And then as for Palace, 14th or 15th, I'd say. Yeah,
It's acceptable.
14th, 15th.
I'll take that any day of the week. That's my hope every day to stay in the Premier League but we're getting a striker in who could bag 15 to 20 goals.
Yeah.
Palace have a lot of options up front now with Benteke. We have Ayew. I mean, Ayew is not my favourite, but a lot of it's the same with the Andre Gomez situation. With Jordan Ayew, we're split. The fan base is pretty split on Jordan Ayew. We've got Philip Mateta. He's the big problem for us. He came in on loan in January from Mainz in Germany. He's on loan. He's not had the perfect start to the season. He didn't get played much last year from January. He only played about 2 to 3 games. I'm hoping that with Edouard coming through, with the French connection, that Edouard can actually boost Mateta's confidence, and Mateta goes on his goal-scoring form. So he's my problem, but hopefully Edouard pushes his confidence. And then we've got Christian Benteke, who's been amazing over these past 6 months. He's held up the ball well. He hasn't scored a goal yet this season, but what he has done is brought players into play and fed it off to Wilf or fed it off to Gallagher, who was involved in that West Ham goal on Saturday. And Benteke flicked it on for him. Benteke is a menace in the box. He can flick on, he can head goals, he can flick on balls, and that's what you need in the striker. Benteke's been.
I was just saying, no, you're absolutely right in everything you're saying. He's a good target man. I feel like him and Calvert-Lewin, both very good target men, holding up play, getting teammates involved, good with headers. I mean, it's like, Peter Crouch did it all the time, didn't he? Always played the target man role. Peter Crouch was amazing at that. So, I mean, having a good target man who is that tall in the Prem, and you could be physical, like it's a good style of play, in my opinion. It's a good style of play.
I like Christian Benteke. Whenever Palace fans gave him a lot of slack, I was the only one that's probably backing him. So Benteke is probably our number 2 striker, possibly our number 1 at the moment. But with Edouard coming in, that might add a bit of competition up front. So it's just like what happened with Batshuayi last season. We had Batshuayi on loan. I
like Batshuayi a lot as a player. I think he needs to settle though, at a certain club, like permanently, because I don't think he's getting in at Chelsea.
Batshuayi was on loan with us last season, but it added competition, and Benteke raised his game to the next level. And it's just like Mateta. If Edouard comes in, Mateta might raise his game. And that's what I mean about squad depth. Squad depth is really important because it can add competition to other places in the pitch. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Palace and how our window's gone. And how hopefully we'll set up for this season coming. What are your thoughts, Josh? Right.
On Everton or Palace?
Both, really.
Both. Well, again,
okay, can I just say?
Yeah.
To end the video, what about if we rate our transfer window out of 10?
Sure. Yeah. Everton's transfer window, I'm going to give a 6.5, 7, 6.5 to 7, and solely due to the fact because Damari Gray's looked like a bargain, so he boosted my score. Begovic is a good backup, another boost, and then Townsend's done bits, so that's a boost from 6.5 around 7. The reason why it's not any higher is because of the right back situation. It's literally an absolute disgrace that we could not bring in a right back unless something crazy happens in the next couple hours. Then I'll boost my score. But for Everton, 6.5 to 7. That's what I'm giving it. What about you to Palace?
Well, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. To be higher for 10, we need a winger. I don't know how crazy it is going to be in the next few hours, but if we do get a winger, it's going to be a 10 out of 10. But for now, I think I'm happy with our wide options because we've got Michael Olise to come back and we've got Jordan Ayew who can play there. And we've got this young kid who has a lot of promising talent, Jez Raksaki. So
yeah,
he can play in wide options. So, yeah. Hopefully we get a few players in before the window shuts. Yeah.
That is the hope. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to end our transfer day roundup deadline video part 2 in a sense for today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed the video, by the way, please leave a like and a subscription and spread the word about the JP Football Podcast if you haven't already. It really means a great deal when you subscribe and spread the word because we get to do more amazing videos like this. And again, Luke is the first ever guest that we've had on the channel, and I think it's been fantastic talking to you, Luke, and I hope to have you back on in the near future as well.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And good luck for the transfer window, and also good luck for the season. So.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. You as well. Luke, where can the people find you, man?
I'm on Instagram, but I should have put my my username but I'm on Instagram, so just find me on there. So
Instagram is Luke Cooper, just his name, simple as that. You'll find him. Again, he lives all the way in England, in London. He can actually, he's actually a amazing fan from there. I'm so happy we actually got someone from the country talking about the Prem as well because they have good insider knowledge. And Luke, he does in fact go to Palace games. He was at one. You were at the West Ham one last week, right?
Yeah, I was. It was probably one of the best away games I've been in a long time. So, West Ham are top 6 side, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there you go, ladies and gents. Again, like, subscribe if you haven't already. And again, leave in the comments down below what you think of the transfer window between Everton or a big club you want me to discuss or Palace in general. Leave your comments. We would love to know. We would love to hear them. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining.